There are, of course, other sources of funding and revenue. Aside from UCO and the Woodland Creation Planning Grant, we've got Countryside Stewardship, of course, which is still running. And of course, many of you will be kind of conversant with the layering funding that's available here. But just to quickly spin through, minimum application size is 3 hectares. Minimum block size would be 0.5 of a hectare. Minimum width would be 20 metres. The important thing to remember here is that this isn't particularly designed with commercial forestry in mind. This is very much a scheme for biodiversity improvement. And you obviously can still retain your basic payments for as long as they last. We can also talk about carbon now as a source of income. And as a quick whistle-stop tour of carbon, trees obviously absorb CO2 and they store it. And 1 tonne of CO2 absorbed is a carbon credit. And they can help you offset your business, your farm business, or you can sell that to other organisations, either privately or to the government. And the diagram there, or the graph there on the screen, is showing that over time, the ability for trees to capture carbon increases. The Woodland Carbon Code is the quality assurance standard for UK woodland creation projects. And they will give you the carbon credits accreditation that you need to then take forward further into other markets. So the carbon code's there for you to register your land and your carbon credits. And the Woodland Carbon Guarantee provides the option to sell your captured CO2 to the government. And it provides a bit of stability, I suppose, because it gives you a guaranteed price every 5 or 10 years up to 2055, 56. And the objective of the code really is to connect you as woodland owners with businesses wanting to offset CO2. It demonstrates that your woodland meets the standards for carbon capture and also provides statements and reporting. So it can be submitted and registered independently. And crucially, it's ICROA endorsed, which means it's part of the International Carbon Reduction and Offset Alliance, which means it's registered and recognised on an international standard. So there's the tree health pilot, which is there as a grant to test different ways of slowing the spread of pests and diseases. You might be interested to take part if you've got a specific tree, pest or disease in your land. There are 3 sort of main target areas, however, for this. So this is geographically dependent. So if you're in the northwest of England, Cumbria and the Lake District, specifically around Arnside and the Silverdale area of outstanding natural beauty. If you're around the other areas, the southeast and London, primarily targeting Kent and East Sussex. And the other area, the final area is the West Midlands, primarily the Malvern Hills AONB and the Shropshire Hills AONB. However, you might still be able to take part if you're outside of one of those primary areas, if your application significantly contributes to the learning from the pilot. So if you feel you have tree disease and pests that could benefit from this particular scheme, it's always worth putting an application in. Some partner grants. So we're delivering these ambitious targets with our partners as well. There's a number of partners here which may or may not be applicable to you. We've got the Northern Forest, of course, which runs from Liverpool across to Hull, which is a new ambitious landscape woodland creation project, and there's a link there if you believe that you'd be eligible. The Woodland Trust might be more applicable to you here in the east of the region. So we've got the Woodland Trust that offers 3 national grants: more woods, more hedges, and trees for your farm. Often good for some of the smaller schemes if you're looking to plant on a tree-by-tree basis, and the link is available there. And it's important to understand that these can't be claimed alongside UCO. Obviously, these, although they come from the same pot of money, they're kind of separate funding sources. There are some other partner grants here. There's the England Community Forest Trees for Climate Fund, and there's a link there available. You could qualify if you're in proximity to, for example, Watling Chase, Thames Chase, or the Forest of Marston Vale. And then there's the National Forest grant, which is available for those landowners that live within that 200 square mile of a national forest in northwest Leicestershire and South Derbyshire. And the link there is available for you to have a look at. An overview of creating income from trees. So in the early years, you can sell the carbon and generate income from wood fuel. But they also allow you to diversify your income via recreation and tourism, and it can increase the capital value of your farm. So through either glamping, camping, pods, trails, cycling, riding, forest schools, for example. And then just to give a bit more detail about timber income. So timber prices are at an all-time high at the moment, approximately £31 per metre cubed for standing softwood or standing conifer species, for example. And then the carbon prices, they're fluctuating, obviously, but on average, about £15 per unit, per carbon tonne. And they can fluctuate from between 6 to 25. 1 hectare produces, as a guide, roughly between 100 and 500 units per hectare. So you can gather income anywhere from £600 per hectare to £12,500 per hectare for carbon, depending on your species choice and your management, either through non-intervention or thinning for timber. This slide here is for illustrative purposes, but once you start stacking up the UCO payments and income streams from timber and carbon, it starts to become and look like a good financial investment compared to certain agricultural uses. And we've just used here a comparison comparing UCO versus farming systems. And the farming income over 50 years is calculated for an average price per hectare in present value terms.